Hey everybody, welcome back to Factorio, Operation Lazy Bastard. Here, I'm Joe Mama, your host. Now things look a little bit different than they did last time. Oh, look here, we got a train dropping off materials, always an awesome thing. We love trains in this game, no doubt about it. But anyway, so I'm actually here on a test game that I've been working on offline, off camera rather. And so I've been so you can see the numbers up here are different. I've been experimenting with modded um, lazy bastard achievement here. I haven't achieved it on this game, but I've advanced farther along. And here, what you're looking at is my nuclear power setup. And a train has just arrived carrying sulfuric acid to the mining site where it mines uranium and bringing uranium back. So I've got sulfuric acid over here that's being pumped onto the train because sulfuric acid is needed for the mining, and then it brings back the product to the same station. So anyway, I thought before we return to our normal game, and off goes the train, very awesome. Before we return to our normal game, I thought I'd kind of give you guys a preview of what nuclear power is all about. This is one of my favorite parts of this game. This is a huge and awesome addition as far as I'm concerned. My degree's in nuclear engineering anyway, so it's kind of cool to see it added to this game. But anyway, I kind of want to walk you through my setup here, give you a preview of what's to come. And let's see, so what I've got here is a railroad, and the railroad is being shared by trains of several different flags here, several different varieties. I've got trains picking up iron and dropping it off. I've got trains picking up and dropping off oil. I've got my oil refinery set up over here, and I've got sulfuric acid being made down here. I've got a fairly good size iron smelting setup here. Copper as well. You can't really see it because I really need to drop a radar set in there. I've got a few of them in my inventory as it is. I've got explosives going on. I've got tank shells. Oh yeah, tank shells, which means I've got tanks right up here. I've got a tank. Love these things. But anyway, I want to walk you through the nuclear process here in case you're interested. So what's happening here is let's take a look in here. Uranium ore is being dropped off by train, and then it is being brought over here. Now notice I've got multiple drop-off points so that when I add other trains, it can handle multiple trains in the same station, or rather, I've got 3 train stops, but this whole thing I consider a station. But anyway, they're all uranium drop stations. All of them can accept uranium trains on any of these offloading sites. Here comes the train again. But I've set up this one to be especially quick. It's got 8 inserters offloading instead of the 6 that I have here. That way, because this is the one most likely to be used, I want to keep it free. So the less time the train spends here, the better. So the uranium comes off the trains, comes over here, and then I've got my centrifuges set up. Now what they do, centrifuges separate out the uranium ore into 2 products. Uranium-235, which is this brightly colored green stuff, and uranium-238, which is not as powerful. It's not as enriched. The darker green stuff, it's an interesting byproduct, but it's not what the reactor needs to create power. The chances of it producing, the centrifuge can produce both products, but it does so on a rather random basis. But it follows certain probabilities. So it has a 99.3% chance of producing the lower power stuff and a 0.7% chance of producing the higher power U-235. So basically you're going to end up with a lot of the dark green and very little of the bright green stuff. All the darks are merged into one, and all the lights are merged into one. So now you've got only two separated belts coming here to where we produce the nuclear fuel. And the nuclear fuel actually requires, a nuclear fuel pellet basically requires 1 U-235 and 19 U-238 because it's, lesser power. But still, it requires pretty decent probability of U-235, more so than the centrifuge can spit out. You end up with a lot of extra green stuff. But in any case, so when it does produce nuclear fuel, it produces it, sends it along this belt. Oh, and you have to add iron as well. It needs iron to produce the casing around the fuel. And then the fuel follows the belt to our nuclear power plant. And as it is, I've got 4 nuclear reactors set up. And the reason I've done that is if you put them so really close together like this, they actually get a bonus from their neighbors. So normally each reactor produces 40 megawatts worth of energy, but because they're close to each other, they actually help each other out, and they produce, each one produces now 80 megawatts because they're so close. So this setup, you can see they're glowing green. These two are producing 160 megawatts worth of juice, worth of heat. And these two will not kick in and consume fuel until, according to this long-handed inserter that I set up, I gave it a logic circuit so that this inserter will only enable if there's less than 10,000 units of steam in the system. And I'll show you how it measures. So the way nuclear power works is that heat from the reactor goes to these boilers right here. These, they're basically just called heat exchangers, which is what a boiler is anyway, but it's a different type of boiler from the steam engines. So these boilers take the heat and turn water into steam, kind of like the boilers for the steam engines do. And extra steam goes into these tanks. I set it up so that these tanks collect the steam. Now right now, these tanks are sitting at 25K units of steam apiece, which is 50,000 units, and that's well above the 10,000 limit, or the 10,000 threshold that I set on this inserter. So that means we've got lots of extra steam, but if the steam in those tanks drops and we need more, then this inserter will insert fuel into these reactors, into these 2 reactors, and get them fired up too. And that will give us way more power than we'll probably ever need in the game, but we'll see. So anyway, the boilers turning the water into steam, and then the steam goes into these steam turbines and causes them to spin, create power. So that is our nuclear power setup, but let me show you some other stuff here as well. Now the spent nuclear fuel, once this is exhausted, this turns into an empty canister. I'll show you what it looks like. As you can see, there's an empty canister here, and it's sitting there waiting because we need 5 canisters, there's one right there, to come into these centrifuges. And once they're in there, then they will actually reprocess. Let's see, do they have anything else that they need? No, they just need those. They will actually reprocess those spent fuel into dark green uranium-238, which comes up here along with the other excess uranium-238 into nuclear waste storage facility. Yeah, we account for that too in this game. Now that nuclear waste, I've researched the technology that allows me to reclaim some of that waste. So what it does is it takes 40 uranium-235s, if you can spare them, and 5 uranium-238s, and it processes them, and it spits out 41 uranium-235. So you get 1 extra U-235, and then it consumes 3 of the green ones in order to do it. So what I've done is basically the 40 go in, and 41 light green ones come out. So you can take the same 40 and daisy chain it from one to another, and just use these centrifuges. It's called Covarex enrichment. When you daisy chain these together, they just keep passing that 40, and they use that 40 light green stuff as a catalyst to turn the dark green stuff into more highly enriched fuel. So what's the net effect is, I've got these crates that collect the excess uranium-235, and they're just filling up with the stuff, which is great. because I want to eventually produce nuclear weapons, and I need a lot of highly enriched uranium to do it. So this is going to help me do it, and it's also going to help keep the dark green uranium-238 down to a minimum. So anyway, that's a basic tour of what we can expect with the nuclear power. I've set this up as this is a filter inserter. This inserter will only pick up certain items, and if your uranium-238 or 235, bright green, highly enriched, ends up on the nuclear waste belt, which it has sometimes, just the way things work, random stuff happens, and this will pull it off and put it back where it belongs. So sometimes you gotta do things like that. See, there's a bright green one, got produced. And so yeah, this is a pretty decent setup, but let me look at the tech tree right now. You can see I've got a lot done, but nuclear weapons, we've got a ways to go, and I need 5,000 of the 6 different sciences, to research nuclear weapons, so I got a ways to go. But anyway, so that's what's going on with this test game, and I gotta say, I love getting this set up. To me, this is a game win right here, just getting nuclear power up and running, because power will no longer be an issue. And I did it just in time because, let me take a look down here. My steam engines, actually, with everything I had built, they reached the end of their limit, or they reached the end of what they were able to produce as far as electricity, and they were running out of steam, quite literally. So, anyway, now that nuclear power is up and running, I could probably disassemble this if I wanted. Oh, yeah, last thing, let me show you the lab. I've got 3 different sciences that are being produced, that are being mass-produced. I have made military science, this gray stuff, on a limited basis. But anyway, if you take a look at this design, each lab has access to possible 8 different sciences if they existed. Right now, there's only 7 in the game, but it can access 4 different belts. Each lab can access 4 different belts, and they've got 8 different inputs. 7 is all that you need, but still, I think it's a good design, and that's what we're going to aim for in our game. So anyway, let's get back to that one, shall we? So here we are. We're back at our world, and oh my goodness, I haven't touched this in so long, but look at this. This is where we're at right now. This is our little laboratory. Now, I don't even think, what do we have for science being produced? Not much of anything, really. So I think what I'd like to do, if possible, I would like to see if we can set up some science production, shall we? Let's see if we can get some science being produced, and maybe we can think very carefully about this layout. We can think carefully about the future. Let's see. Let's check our map. Okay, we've done a lot of exploration, but I think we'll need to think about where we want to place everything. Boy, there's a lot of cliffs here. So at some point we're going to want to get rid of those with special explosives, I might add. So, alright, let's think about science, shall we? Like I said before, this game, if you're really honest with yourself, if you really think about it, centers around the production of science packs. So we've got some ammunition being produced. Oh my gosh, it's a pain. It's painful. Knowing what's going on in the other game and now seeing what's going on in this game, it's painful. But it is what it is. We'll work with it. Okay, I think we need to redesign and increase the capacity of our iron production. So I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to relocate everything over here. I've got 15 furnaces, and I think, well, I've got a total of 15 between these 6 and the 9 that I have in my inventory. So actually 3 now. So I'm trying to think of what would be the best way to distribute them. I think let's do, I've got 6 over there. I think I'm just going to put them all in a line. See how that works. In the meantime, let me take these inserters. I'm going to fill my inventory with a bunch of garbage. How many belts do I have? Alright. Just take these, and I'll probably end up taking these also. But let's set up 3 more. Or, you know what? Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's set up 7 more, but let's figure out exactly where we want to set them. We'll need a splitter. Oops, that was stupid. Okay, splitter there, splitter here, splitter there. We'll make room for a 16th because, you know, OCD and perfectionist and all that stuff. So we'll put our remaining 7 up here. We'll leave room for an 8th so we can get a total of 16. Okay. And set up our poles. Alright, now let's get some power to these. Okay, and then let's reroute this. You know what I'm going to do? I'd like to find a way to pick this up without making a mess of my inventory, but I guess there probably isn't a way to do that. Do I have any underground belts? Yes, I do. And actually, to be honest, I can make that go away here in just a minute. I can make that underground belt go away. Oh, that's not going to work. Alright. Let's refocus that. And let's clean up all this mess. We'll just have to manually insert this from our inventory into the furnaces and be done with it. All right. There. So now we should start to see all these things fire up. And we should get a nice supply of iron coming in now. But what I think I'm going to do is... What do I have for underground belts? Not a lot. Do I have them anywhere else? Did I collect them and sit them somewhere? No, I guess I didn't. I just don't have a lot of underground belts. You'll see my iron production is way bigger than my copper production, but that's just the way it is. That's what happens. That is the way it goes. Because iron is just so much more in demand. How much steel do I have? Not a lot. So, what we'll do is we'll get the iron and copper running together, or close to it. I'm not sure I have enough belts to do it, but what I will do is, okay, what does the belt need? Alright. We'll get belts producing. Alright. Belts are being worked on. We'll take what we have and we'll see if we can combine our copper, or maybe not combine, but rather bring them close together. And we're going to see if we can get some science production automated. That's my goal. Do I have lights? Yes, I have lights. I have made lights. So let's go ahead and add a couple of lights here. Brighten things up a bit. Well, I'll tell you, I feel very foggy-headed. The reason is I have kicked soda. Those of you who know me know I was a die-hard soda drinker. And I have decided to take this new year, do my teeth a favor, do my health a favor, and kick soda for good. So let's see how successful I can be at that. Alright, let's see if we can bring these in close proximity to one another. And I'm just about out of belts. Now I will show you how we can get some red science being produced. So again, forgive me if I seem just a little bit out of it. I apologize. And I don't think... Oh yeah, we do have access to blue assembly machines. Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, we might want to actually do that because we're going to need a few. So, let us start by producing level 1 machines. Now, how do we do that? Okay, we need steel plates. Okay, you know what? We're actually going to do that up here. We'll start. Actually, let me see. How many belts do I have? Oh, let me grab more belts. Ah, this is it. This is the joy of Factorio. Everything we want to do is blocked by something else, is gated by something else. So, we have to solve that problem before we can move on. Part of the challenge and part of the joy. So in order for us to produce the science labs or the science production assembly machines that I was talking about, we actually need to do a couple of other steps first. Let's grab some steel plates. And so let's extend the belts a little bit. And now to make these blue assembly machines, we actually need to make gray ones, the level 1s first. Gray ones are a little easier to make, but they still require a little bit of... Oh, do I have access to red-handled inserters, the long-handled ones? I do. See, there we go again. Get one more thing that's gated. Because I need to... Well, first, let's do this. Let's get assembly 1, but we need gear wheels. So let's make gear wheels. And we'll need a bunch of them, so let's use a blue assembly machine for that. And... okay, we'll also need actual iron plates. So we're going to set this up to produce level 2 assembly machines, or level 1 assembly machines. And but the trick now is we need red-handled inserters, because we've got to set up a small group of assembly machines that's going to make green chips, and we need both copper and iron to do that. And in order to get both into the machine, we need inserters with a long reach, and that's what these red ones give us, long-handed inserters. So let's see, how can we do that? In order to do that, it needs iron plates and yellow inserters, which we've got, the regular electric inserters. So let's see, we'll grab a couple of these. All right, set up this for temporary purposes to create long-handed inserters. Again, just as a reminder for those of you watching who aren't familiar with the game, we are doing the Lazy Bastard achievement. We're shooting for the Lazy Bastard achievement. And in order to do that, we have to be able to insert, or to create less than 112 items in our hand. Which means, if I want something, if I right-click or left-click on this item, or this item right here, the game will produce it for me, basically in my hand. But, real easy to do, but our goal is to do almost everything by machine. And as I said in the last episode, I believe with this Ruins mod that we are utilizing right now, that we can actually do it with 8. If I've used the term fewer than 8, I was wrong. It's less than 9. I think we can do it with 8. Alright, we'll take that. I think that gives us a bunch. So now that we've got this machine, let's go ahead and set up a group of assembly machines. Let's throw some lights down here. And let's set up a group of assembly machines that will hopefully produce green chips. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you. Put that there. So these are going to produce, okay, green chips require copper cables and iron plates, but first let's worry about the copper cables. So let's set the recipe for these machines, and let's set up some inserters to do it. And we're also going to need iron plates, but in order to do that, I can use splitters, but I don't have many underground belts. So I have to do this another way. And I hope this is going to be enough, because I don't often do it this way. I prefer to use underground belts with splitters so you get the full throughput, but not so this time. Now the green chips require 1 iron plate apiece, so we should be able to do that. We should be able to provide enough. And green chips. Okay, what we'll do is we'll set these up to put them together, and we'll put them into an iron crate. There we go. Green chips going into an iron crate. So now that we've got the green chips, we should be able to bring them over here. I do have one set of underground belts. So what I could do is, I think, rather than... no, I think it'd be better... No, I had it right the first time. Let us bring the green chips over here using the one set of underground belts we have. Boom, boom. So that expends that. I'll have to make more of those. Like I said, we're producing our level 1 assembly machines, which we need badly. We didn't find as many as I was hoping we would, so we need to produce it somehow. We need to produce them somehow. So once we have those machines, then we can set up a machine that produces blue ones. That's what we really want. That's the real prize. And let's set up another machine for producing gear wheels. I want them to produce quickly, so I don't want to split this one's resources. Okay, this one... I realize we have one here, but I want to have one dedicated to this one here. And what else do we need? We need green chips as well, which we've got over here. We're producing more green chips than we need for the other assembly machines, so we've got extra to spare. The only thing we just can't produce on site is steel. The one ingredient we need is steel. So we're actually going to have to bring steel up manually to do it. Now, if we had coal, if we could bring coal up here, we could actually have a steady trickle of steel. We could do that. We could do that. I would need another underground belt, though. It's not being consumed terribly quickly down here, which means maybe I could spare some. Let's bring some... Yeah, let's bring some iron up here. Iron and coal. And do I have stone? I do not. But I can produce it. I've got 2 electric mining machines, and we can set these up. Let's see, let's pick a spot where they won't pick up anything but stone. And we will take an inserter into a wooden crate. Actually, an iron crate would be better because we might actually produce a lot. Then let's take a utility pole and bring it someplace where there's power. Shall we? Okay, so we've got power there. Let's throw a light here. And then we take one of these level 1 assembly machines that we've got left over, and we're just going to produce furnaces. And that can go into a wooden crate because we don't need very many. In fact, we'll set ourselves a limit. Oh, right. There we go. And let's do that by doing that. So now we've got furnaces being produced. I only really need... Let's take 4. Alright, let's take 4 of them. Come up here. And... what do I need to... If I wanted to produce underground belts, what would I need? I would need... just some iron plates and... Oh, I could just set up a machine to do that. This is one of the things you're going to find yourself doing if you go for this achievement. Just dropping a machine here and there to produce what you need, to resist the temptation of doing it in your hand. Okay, so the assembly machine, I just physically dropped in some belts and let it collect the iron plates off of this belt here, and then it's going to produce those for me. Alright, so now what I can do is, using the underground belts I just created, oops, I'm going to send this coal and iron ore mix over here. I'm going to set up 1, 2, I actually need to set up a splitter, but it's got to have a filter. So the output priority will be to the right, and it will filter out the coal. It will filter out the coal. Yes, that's what we'll do. I haven't done this in a little while. So the coal is going to come up in between them, like that. And okay, let's collect the iron off of there. Alright, then the iron will split off to there and to there. See, that's what you can do with splitters. Not only can you evenly distribute the load from one belt onto two, you can actually filter one item out completely, and that's pretty awesome. And it's going to take the coal from that belt. It's going to take the iron ore from this belt, and it's going to make iron plates, just like the ones on this belt. But we're going to use the 2 remaining furnaces. I'm going to put them here. They're going to pull fuel off that same belt, but then there's going to be a long-handed inserter that's going to take the processed iron belts, drop them in here, drop them into the second set of furnaces, and start producing steel. And once it gets 5 iron plates in there, it's going to take a while, but once it gets those 5 iron plates in each one, it will start to produce steel plates. There we go. And we will run the steel. You know what we're going to do? Let's collect up these. We're actually going to have steel share a belt with the green chips. That makes sense to me. So this might take a while, but at least it's self-sufficient. I don't have to manually feed anything into it, if that makes sense. I don't have to, if I find that I need blue assembly machines, I don't have to show up here and bring steel with me to feed it. Okay, it's got everything it needs. So let me take this crate. Okay, and I'll set a limit. Okay, they stack to 50, so I'm setting a limit for 100 of these blue machines. Level 2 assembly machines. So there you go. Didn't do the science like I was hoping, but I think in this episode we did well by getting blue assembly machines well underway. And this is a good thing. Now, we're not producing copper very fast. You know what I think we will do? Well, first, let's check the power. Where are we at? Oh, we got plenty to spare for now. And I will grab these assembly machines. I'm actually going to set up a couple of machines to produce transport belts. But this one here first is going to produce the gear wheels. This one will produce the belts. And let's get the inserters doing their thing. And then that's going to go into a crate. But then from that, there'll be an assembly machine pulling the belts out, and they'll be using the belts to make underground belts. But in order for this to work, I'm going to need a second source of Oh, yeah, and here's what we can do. I'm going to put this here, put this here. I'm going to set up a machine here that also produces gear wheels. Inserter, pulling iron off there, and then a long-handed inserter. Is that going to work? Right? Oh, they don't. Oh, okay. All right. Alrighty then. Never mind. I thought they needed gear wheels. I guess they don't. So we're producing underground belts, which we're going to need. Oh my goodness, the power issue. I cannot wait till we have electrical substations when we don't have to have all these utility poles everywhere. So let's set a limit on those as well. We'll put it right, actually, we're going to put it to 200. Because we're going to find, we got some designs in the future that will use a lot of underground belts. So there we go. So we've got underground belts being produced. We've got this long-handed inserter set up, which we're going to take down again. It's temporary, we don't need it. And then we've got level 2 assembly machines being made. This is great. Okay, so we're on our way. A little bit slow. This is to be expected. And I think next episode we'll set up the production of inserters, not science, but inserters, because we are going to be needing inserters like crazy. Belts, inserters and assembly machines are critical to almost everything we do, so I think we need to set up more of them. Also, let's go ahead and grab some more utility poles. We're going to need them. Alright guys, sorry things were a little bit slow, but I think we got a lot of important stuff done, and next time we will do more important stuff. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more, and we'll try to keep it within the limits of the Lazy Bastard achievement, and we will lick this thing. Alright, well, y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Ciao.